Hello, welcome aboard to this episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to following the entire story of One Piece from beginning to end as we focus on each volume. We keep the discussion spoiler-free for new fans of the series, so this is a perfect place to follow along, whether you're new to the series or just want to revisit the world of One Piece with us. This week, we will be covering the second part of Volume 60, My Little Brother, which covers chapters 590 through 594. My name is Joel. I'll be your host. Joining me today, we have Evan.
Hey.
And we have Cody.
What's up?
Yeah, so we had the the craziness of Marineford, and then we had this flashback with Luffy to get a little bit more context with Ace when they were younger, and we learned about Sabo. But let me give a little recap for where we left off before we move on. Sabo was returned home to his aristocratic parents against his wishes. Here, he learned that the royal family was planning to burn Great Terminal, including the people who lived there, in order to make the Goa Kingdom more presentable to the Celestial Dragon visitors. Desperate to help Ace and Luffy, who were in danger, Sabo attempted to escape to warn them, but was blocked by the city guards. Here, he met the Revolutionary Dragon. Ace and Luffy were confronted by Blue Jam, who was tricked into carrying out the orders to burn Great Terminal, though he was hoping to get some revenge on Ace and Luffy. The Don and the bandits arrived to save the boys, though Ace was determined to stay and fight. The Don stayed with Ace to fight off the pirate while the others escaped. Elsewhere, Dragon carried out an evacuation for the people who were willing to join his cause. A few days later, Ace returned with the Don. On the day the Celestial Dragons visited, Sabo had escaped his home and decided to set sail on a small boat. His boat got too close to the arriving Celestial Dragons, so they blew his ship up. Dagra witnessed the events and reported back to Ace and Luffy. The boys decided to honor Sabo by continuing to train until he was age 17, the age Sabo was originally planning to set sail. Back in the present, Luffy questions how he could be worthy to be king of the pirates if he couldn't protect the ones he cares about. Yeah, so we finish up the flashback, and now we're back in the present. And I also wanted to just mention before we do jump into the chapter, I finished the first Ace novel.
Ooh.
And I feel like there's not really anything in spoiler territory for that, but then they also had like a little section in the back that had like little blurbs that like the flashback stuff we just covered. So it's just like a nice little like recap of that. I started the second volume, and that one seems like it's going to be ahead of where we are. So yeah, I think we have to put a pin in the A story for now. I'm gonna keep reading it, but I think it's probably gonna be a little while before we actually get to the Ace novel, because I don't think it's like, I think we're gonna have to get further into the series before we get to a safe point where there's no spoilers that are gonna be presented there.
Of curiosity, how much further do you think? Like how many volumes, chapters ish?
Actually, no idea, because just from the first few pages, I could tell that it basically they're going into the new world. So
Okay.
so like if it starts out like at the beginning of the new world, I feel like it's probably just going to go further in from here. So
Okay, no, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah. So
I was
I'll
like,
have
is there
to,
like
have to
a
gauge
specific
it.
thing I
Yeah.
want to like detective work it out, but like no, I hear you. I hear you.
All right. So let's just move on to what's actually in this book. So we'll go to chapter 590, My Little Brother. Garp pays a visit to Windmill Village, though Dadan is not happy to see him after he did nothing to prevent Ace's death. While Dadan is pummeling Garp, Makino intervenes to tell her that Garp is hurting more than anyone. Dadan corrects her and says that Luffy is the one that is hurting more than anyone. Shanks helps Marco and the Whitebeard pirates to set up grave sites for Ace and Whitebeard. On Amazon Lily, Luffy lashes out, upset that he's too weak. Unable to allow Luffy to hurt himself any further, Jinbei talks sense into Luffy, reminding him to focus on what he still has. Luffy remembers he has his crew, and he wants to see them.
So do I. I want to see his crew.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
Miss all of them.
Yeah, because we've been like so used to having like a lot of these characters for like they were so present for like so much of the series, and now they've been absent for a big chunk of the series. So multiple arcs, we haven't really had the main cast. So it's been a little unconventional to like basically take
Mhm.
away like your main cast for like for a while. But yeah, like he's just kind of like, it feels like he's telling this like story that's like off to the side for like, it's not really off to the side, but it's like the main character is Luffy, so we're following him. But it's like we're taking this like story that's not like the main quest for the journey, because the goal is to go for the One Piece with his crew. But Luffy's not really doing anything to progress that goal right now. Like this whole thing's been like
Mhm.
a sidestep from that main journey. And that, Cody, were you checking something?
Yeah. Give me a second. I'm trying to see how long in my experience it had been since the Straws getting separated and this exact chapter when Luffy, is like, hey, let's bring them back.
Like in real time?
Yeah, yeah, in like
Okay.
publication time. One
Okay.
second.
All right. So while
So
you're doing that, Evan, do you want to give your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, speaking to the crew coming back, that full page spread that we get when Luffy says, "I have my crew," um, we kind of see like Luffy's hitting like rock bottom, and he's trying to find like a purpose and meaning. And Jenbei really steps in here and kind of grounds him and is like, remember what you do have. Like, we can't change the past, but we can change the future. Like, remember what is important to you and what you can do right now. Trying to like pull him into the present. Like, after we just had him dwelling in the past and thinking back on his time with Ace and like not really being able to get over that, which is depicted incredibly well by Oda here. Like we even get like a metaphorical panel where Luffy's kind of like in this dark place surrounded by obstructions around him. Um, and he says like it's like a giant wall stands between your eyes and the world. And we get like an actual panel here that kind of like shows like metaphorically shows Luffy's like state of mind, which I don't think we've ever seen anything like that
Hmm.
before, right? Like it's an abstract,
I can't think of any, honestly.
which I think is very cool and fitting for this moment because it like gives some like visual representation of like Luffy's kind of blockage here, and then Jembe kind of releases that blockage, reminding him of what he does have and grounding him back on Earth, and he thinks of his crew.
Mhm.
So I think that was a really touching
Yeah.
moment. I think it was portrayed really well by Oda here.
Yeah, and this is just like such a massive like loss that Luffy is experiencing, and that is going to blind him in a sense for a little while, because it's going to consume him for the time being. Jinbei is trying to get him out of that, so that way he can. So yeah, he needs to grieve his brother, but he also needs to not lose sight of what is important. So that's what Jinbei is here for, is to remind him. And Ace also told him that like he believed in him and he thinks that he can do it. So I think he also needs to focus on what Ace would have wanted for him too. Like Ace wouldn't want him
Mhm.
to stay in place and give up on his dreams. He wants Luffy to succeed. So I think Luffy has to just kind of get that reminder from Jinbei, somebody who can see things a little bit more clearly than he can, because he is going through this such an emotional experience right now. So Jinbei is there to kind of help him get back on that path.
Yeah, we Jembe really being like a guiding light and kind of father esque figure for Luffy again here, and
Yeah.
kind of delicately bringing him back.
A
I guess
little bit
not.
like
I
tough
mean,
love,
not
but yeah.
delicately, like.
Body
uh,
slam.
yeah, I guess not delicately, but
But I
effectively,
would say like skillful, yeah, like skillfully, like
skillfully.
That's
Yeah,
true.
skillfully is
yeah,
a better word. Yeah.
but yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah,
Yeah. Jinbei
uh,
is the exact friend Luffy needs at this moment.
yeah,
Someone who
Yeah.
has this sage wisdom, someone who has this kind of experience. Um, and just someone who like genuinely likes him. Because like
mm,
for me, the remarkable thing about Jinbei in this moment is that he doesn't have to do this. There's no battle at
Right.
stake here. This has nothing to do with him personally. It's just that he said to Ace, "If I like your brother, I'll help him out." And holy shit, Jinbei is doing so much to help Luffy out right now, which is
Right.
just it's really wholesome.
While also being sympathetic, but he's just like, we need to move forward.
Yeah,
We need to find a way forward here.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Cody, did you figure out how long it was in real time?
Yeah, 1 year and 10 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So almost
Really?
almost 2 years.
Yeah. Almost 2 years without the Straw Hats, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yep. I think end of Sabaody was September 8th, 2008, and this chapter was July 5th, 2010.
That's
So that first part of
crazy.
high school is pretty rough. I can't lie to you.
Wow. We've been binging it, and it's
Yeah.
been too long for me.
Yeah.
It's great. That's great. I couldn't imagine waiting that long.
It's insane. It was like, are they coming back? Is it gonna and so this chapter with that final tableau of like all the Straw Hats was like, oh my god, thank you, Oda. Thank you. Please.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we have other main characters.
I miss them, please. Yeah. But no, it's so nice. Honestly, that panel of Luffy saying, I have my crew, um, I might get a little personal here, is something that this spread has popped into my mind so many times over the past 2 years. I have made some wonderful friends since coming to LA in the past 2 years, present company included. Um, but there were some parts I think in that first year where I was like, what am I doing? Where am I? I don't know what's gonna happen. I feel like I'm out of my depth. I feel like I've lost a part of myself that I can't get back. And so often I would think of my best friends from back home and think I still have these friendships. I still have
Yeah.
these people I care about.
Mhm.
Even if I am not with them, we still care about each other. And that is what got me through my first year in LA to the point where I
Nice.
can, I don't see them every day, but I get to see them like for the holidays and things like that. And while I'm here, I have life and I have friends now that I'm able to, connect with. So this panel definitely has sprung to mind a lot in the past 2 years, and it's one of my
Yeah.
favorite moments in the series.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, he's literally counting them on his hands.
Yeah.
It's but oh my god. Oh, buddy. I want them all to get back together. I want them all to just hang out again. Go on adventures, please.
Yeah, and I like how he shouts everybody's name too. Like after he does
Mhm.
like the finger counting, like he goes through each name. Yeah, and then we see this little moment where Ace had um disclosed to Jinbei that he feels that Luffy's in good hands with his crew. He's like, yeah, they're good guys that he can depend on. So Ace even recognized that when he met them, um, who was present at Alabasta. So he already recognized that with the friendships that Luffy was making. So yeah, and what do you guys think of that the opening scene where the Don confronts Garp?
What are your Evan's thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible seeing the amount of emotion that we get from all of these characters and how like everyone's thinking of Luffy here. And it's just kind of this moment that I feel like no one really knows how to handle it. And then Makino kind of steps in and quells the just like pure emotion and anger that's flowing out of these people right now who I feel like are struggling with their loss because everyone here cared about Ace. Everyone cares about Luffy and is like worried about Luffy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's just like incredibly emotionally tense, like such
Yeah,
a tense moment that I don't know. I feel like we don't get a lot of relief either. Like it's just like a very tense moment between people important to Luffy.
how
Yeah,
about you,
Oda
Cody?
very much.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't know. I don't know exactly how to. I don't know.
Oda decided to milk this conflict for all it's worth and not give us any resolution. That fiend. Um, for me, I'm still so torn on where I stand with what Don said to Garp because it is so hard because he did up until Luffy was running up the ramp. In my opinion, he was putting his job above the family. But at the same point, it's that question of, and I forget how much we talked about this a few weeks back because I can barely remember the last 5 minutes. But It's that the way I've always tried to figure Garp's rationalization of the fact that he was going to let his own grandson's execution go through was, I want you to be a Marine, but if you're not, I need to at least, and if I'm going to acknowledge your choices and your independence, then I have no right to get in the way of the consequences of your actions. I see it as like a weird sort of begrudging respect for where they're at. But then at a certain point, as soon as Luffy's trying to save him, he's down to let that happen. Then as soon as Sakazuki, ugh, Sakazuki, it's once the reality hits, it's complete theories
Yeah.
window, but at the same time, there was something that did lead up to that. And there is something about, where Garp stands within the system potentially, but that's not the conflict at play here. And I just think that it puts Garp in a very interesting light here. The fact that he says nothing, just lets Dadan wail on him.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, he genuinely does regret the fact that it went down like this. The fact that Ace died, the fact that Luffy is alone compared to his brothers is not what he
Yeah.
wanted. And I think even he thinks that Dadan is right, and he wants that punishment for himself, which
Yeah.
is, you know,
I think I found some words. I feel like this is such a tense moment because we like all of these characters, right? Like all of
Mhm.
these characters are likable, and I feel like we can see where everyone's coming from, but there's a bit of miscommunication. Like Garp didn't have to come here. Like Garp didn't have to come and confront Dadan, you know? Like he came here of his own free will, um, because he knew how important Ace was to her and thought that he felt like he needed to be there in person for this confrontation to happen. And I don't think Dadan's reaction's out of line either, from her perspective, like having seen what she saw. It's like I feel like we kind of can relate to kind of where everyone's coming from here and uh the tensions that result from that.
Yeah, see, just slight correction. I don't think he intended to run into Dadan because normally she's not um, down from Mount Corvo, so it's unusual that she's
Mm,
actually in
Yeah.
Windmill Village. I think Garp's intentions were to reassure the people of Windmill Village that um, even though like it's turbulent times and pirates might be on the rise, like that the Navy is still here for them. And he's thinking of his hometown, so I think he wants
Yeah.
to, I kind of like be like the Whitebeard of like East Blue and be like, this town is under Navy protection, so you guys
Mhm.
have
mhm.
to worry about that. But I do think that he, since the Don was here, I think he part of him like agrees with the Don, but he had no choice in his mind, and he felt he deserved that punishment, so he just took it because he's like, yeah, you're right, but I had no choice. And like what Cody was saying, I think he had to respect the decision that Ace had made. It's like, yeah, you guys chose life of the pirates. You can't expect, Grandpa to come in and save the day, get you out of trouble, like, get out of jail free. Like, you guys made your decision. Now I'm going to respect that. And this is the consequences. So, uh, Garp is conflicted. And I think it's a complicated situation that he's in. Whether or not you agree with him, like, this is the decision he made, and you can understand where he's coming from and why he made these decisions. I think that's what's important, is to understand the why. I also kind of feel like the Don is almost like a conduit for like the reader in some cases, where it's like some people might be like feeling the same thing the Don is, like, oh, like you
Mm.
sat there and did nothing, you could have helped, but you didn't. So I think that's also kind of like Oda being like, for those people who feel that way, I'm addressing it within the story. I think these characters are saying the things that maybe some of you are feeling right now. And it's like the Don gets to wail on Garp, also has kind of like a way to vent, but at the end of the day, Garp is still hurting, and the decisions he made, he has to live with now too, because he made his choice. Um, but yeah, he was in a tough position. He had to make a tough call. Now he has to live with the consequences of that decision.
It's a great point.
Mhm. It's a very Dadan way to grieve.
Yeah,
Um,
Mhm.
and then also it's Garp's actions during Rainford are still like really controversial in the fandom.
yeah,
Like And it's sometimes easy to forget with everything that's gone on in Marineford and everything that is going on, even in the rest of this volume, the fact that this scene even happened.
Yeah.
And so seeing that this scene happens and then Oda still leaves it up to the reader, doesn't let Garp say anything, doesn't give a resolution to the scene at all. I think it's a great way that it's a great relationship he has with his fandom.
Mm.
It's
Well, I think
I'm gonna engage. I'm gonna be like, hey, this isn't just sloppy, but like I'm gonna leave it up to you. I'll let you have your own relationship with the story. Here's just where I'm at, and here is reassurance that it's for something.
well, I think the fact that Garp doesn't say anything and doesn't try to defend himself or justify his actions, like
True.
I think that really says it all.
I guess I should say that the fact that the narrative doesn't fully exonerate him either way. The fact that it can
Yeah.
be
Mhm.
both. I guess that's
Right,
what I
right.
should have said. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
And then just last thing before we move on, we have this nice little scene where Shanks helped the Whitebeard pirates to set up the grave site. Yes, we don't know exactly where it is, but somewhere far away in the New World. And yeah, it's just a nice little scene between these two.
Mhm.
And we can see like the massive amount of people that gathered to pay their respects.
Mhm.
Even Shanks is feeling for well, of course Shanks is feeling for Luffy, but I guess even in
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
situation, Shanks is thinking about Luffy.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of says like it's okay to have like this moment to grieve, but you gotta get past it eventually. Like, take a little moment and then move on. Speaking of moving on, you guys good to move on to the next chapter?
Let's go.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm just gonna give us a little change of scenery since we're moving away from Great Terminal. Let's go to Amazon Lily. I've never done this
Okay.
before and changed the template in the middle of the episode. Okay, cool. I probably should have done it at the beginning, but I thought about it in the middle. Okay, let's move on to chapter 591. Are you sure about that? The Hot Pirates notice a dead Sea King from the shore of Amazon Lily. Rayleigh walks onto the beach from the ocean, having just killed the Sea King. He tells them he assumes Luffy is on the island. The Kuja pirates prepare a feast for Luffy. Luffy and Jinbei find Rayleigh and are surprised to see him. Goryosa and the Boa sisters recognize Rayleigh, though Hancock was a little distracted by Luffy. He was able to ascertain where Luffy was sent after learning that Kuma was a member of the Revolutionary Army and purposefully sent the Straw Hats away to protect them. Rayleigh saw the direction Luffy went and followed. Luffy says he wants to go back to Sabaody to meet his friends, but Rayleigh has another suggestion. Meanwhile, Usopp and Chopper have learned about Ace and make attempts to leave the islands that they have been on in order to try to meet up with Luffy. Okay, what do you guys want to pack on this one first?
It's up to Evan.
So much going on here.
Do you want to start from the beginning?
Sure. What a tank really is.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Dude. Swam in through the calm belt from the Grand Line. Kills a sea monster. Says, hey guys, how you doing? Is Luffy here?
Still got it.
Still
Not
got
even
it.
knowing that for sure Luffy was here. Like, he had a good indication, but like, imagine if he was wrong. He went through all this trouble and Luffy wasn't even here.
He would have just shrugged it off and like, okay,
Yeah,
let's
like,
figure this
move
out.
on. Plan
Let's
B.
go back to Sabaody.
Yeah, so
But
like,
I
on
think
the
that
way.
leads us into the.
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, like, on the way here, like his ship got sunk. That's why he had to swim the rest of the way. But like, yeah, it's just like crazy that he was able to swim through all that. That you were saying?
I was just saying that he got. It's interesting he got his information from Kuma here because this is kind of our first time seeing um, Kuma being potentially like a double agent here. And I don't remember if at this point we had thought that Kuma was no longer like free thinking at this point. Like I don't remember the timeline on when we found that out about him versus this confrontation in Sabaody.
So at Sabaody, we knew that he was still like conscious because he said to Luffy, "This is the last time you'll ever see me."
Right. So we knew he was like on the way to potential brainwash.
Yeah, and then what Kuma said to Rayleigh was whispered, which we didn't know what he said at the time.
Right.
So now this is confirming what was actually whispered to Rayleigh.
Pretty wild.
I remember
So
I
did
saw
this
one
surprise you?
theory on
Hmm?
Kaiser fan stuff. I saw like one person like theorizing, oh, Kuma's still working for the revolutionaries. He sent the Straughts away to protect them, and everyone's like, "You're an idiot." There's no way the guy who does whatever the government wants is working with the revolutionaries. Are you kidding? And then as soon as the Sabo chapter came out, everyone's like, "Wait, shit, take it back, take it back." We see the chapter. It was like, "Wait, this guy might be cooking. Hold on, hold on."
I'm
It
sure,
all tied
like,
together pretty nicely here.
yeah, I'm sure he like him knowing Ivankov had nothing to do with that.
Nah,
Crazy.
nah, insane, insane.
Yeah, so I think we had some clues up to this point, but we didn't know exactly what he said at that point, and we didn't know if he still had affiliation with the Revolutionary Army because he could have like abandoned them, at any point since like the flashback. We just knew that Ivankov had known Kuma at one point, and now it seems like they haven't seen each other in a little while, and now Ivankov's like, "Oh, like what happened to you? Like you're not like yourself." Uh, so yeah, now we have the confirmation that up until Sabaody, Kuma was still working with the Revolutionary Army, which I think that also makes his actions in Throw a Bark make a little bit more sense too, with a little bit of extra context, where he wasn't strictly obedient to the world government as one of the warlords. He did something essentially to protect Luffy. Like he let Luffy go. Uh, it was a little bit roundabout way of getting there, but he did ultimately decide not to take Luffy back.
Right.
Yeah, like we find out that like him sending away the Straw Hats was intentional. So he did this to protect them because if he didn't intervene, then the Strats likely would have been wiped out here. And that would have been the end. Because Kizaru was like a little confused, like what's Kuma doing? He's kind of going rogue, and he's kind of making the situation worse for us. So now we know exactly what was going on there.
It's interesting. Could also play into the fact on like why his brainwashing was like so extreme, potentially because of these moments.
Well, it seems that Kuma was expecting it to happen.
Hmm.
He seemed to be aware that he didn't have much time, so he was taking advantage of his last few moments of free will, like his last chance to really do that, and he chose to do this before he fully became a pacifist.
Give some new
It's
weight to the
interesting.
line. We'll never meet again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He even says here, like, I don't have much time left, so he knows he's on the clock.
Very interesting guy.
But yeah, with Rayleigh seeing the way that Luffy was sent, he was able to follow the trajectory and track down where Luffy was and went to Amazon Lily. He says that I retraced the steps from the Paramount War and figured Luffy probably followed the route Hancock took. That's the end of it. Considering how much Hancock hates men and the government, no one will even suspect her of sneaking a man onto a government vessel. So it's like the perfect cover.
And Shockey really cracks the code. We gotta give some.
Yeah.
We gotta
Yes.
give credit where credit's due. She put it all together.
Yeah, the most unlikely thing to happen was she thought that Hancock has fallen for Luffy. It's quite the catch.
She knew. She knew.
He knew.
But it's interesting here that Rayleigh seems to be familiar with with the Boa sisters here.
Yeah. Was it that Sandersoni says, Rayleigh, Shaki, and old lady Nyan. It's all thanks to you three who took us in after we escaped from the celestial dragons.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go just straight back to Amazon Lily, it seems.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Mhm.
Cody, were you gonna bring up something for Evan to theorize on?
Was I? Did I give an indication, or are you just wondering if I'm gonna have him theorize about a certain thing?
I thought you were gonna say something, but I'm not sure if it was about the Kuma thing or not.
No, not really. I didn't have anything. No, this
Okay.
one's a realization of a theory. I didn't have any specific theorization things.
Okay, well, I got one for you, Evan. So Rayleigh tells Luffy that he has a suggestion. Whether you accept it or not, of course, is entirely up to you.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any idea what Rayleigh is going to suggest to Luffy?
I did not. I did not at this point have a good idea of what was coming.
Okay.
I was very curious, but I didn't really have a theory at the time.
Do you have one now?
Well, I've read the rest of the volume, so I feel like
Well, you don't have to say what it is, but like, do you? If you do, you can say what it is at the end of the volume. But I'm like, it's like, but do you have something? Like, you got a theory?
Because I don't think we actually get an answer
no.
in this volume.
We do not. We do not. And I was reading the volume like, do we find out? And we don't.
Wait.
If you don't know the answer, that's fine. I just
Yeah,
wasn't sure
right.
if this made you have any ideas of like what he wanted to suggest.
No, but now I'm very, very curious.
Yeah.
I'd have to reread this little bit to.
That's the agenda. The agenda is coming true.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just curious on that. All right. And then we also do get a little check-in. So, we're just saying how we wanted to see the rest of the crew. It's been a little bit. We've had like these little bits here and there. So we've kind of had like these little segments devoted to the other strats and where they are. So now we see a little progression for each of them. So first we check in on Usopp, who is very motivated to try to get to Luffy's aid. So like Hercules is like, I've never really seen you like this before. Like what's going on? But we also see like how dangerous Bowen Island is.
Yeah, it's such a cool concept. This kind of like living island, this like living plant island is so cool.
Yeah.
I also really like the fact that Heracles says they won't bother anyone who stays in the forest. Which is, it's very like, hey, if you're a coward and if you just play it safe, you're gonna be fine. And Usopp literally has to go against that facet of his personality to get to
Yep.
Luffy, which is just the perfect Usopp trial. I love it.
That's a good catch.
Yep. It's a good trial.
I'm also always down for thick sop, so like, good for him.
Yeah, and then we also check in on Chopper.
Yeah, he fostered peace between two warring nations.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
What a
adorable.
guy.
Adorable.
He tells him to play nice. I love him.
Yeah, and Chopper's concerned. He says like Luffy needs me. I have to treat his wounds. He's definitely been reckless again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Chopper's concerned for his well-being and wants to be there to help him. But yeah, so it seems that they get the newspapers and they're shocked to see what they find in the paper.
Could it be?
The sight gag on Chopper was perfection. The one of him spitting out his food and the one of just like zoomed out of him still freaking out. Beautiful. Great sell. But what's gonna happen?
All right, let's find out. You guys get to move on to the next chapter.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Okay, and just real quick, small SBS thing. So there is the question where somebody asked about the cup, and there was like a little shadow off to the side. So previously we had mentioned, how it was likely that it was like off screen that the third cup was there, but like it actually gave like a little clue that there was another cup, and somebody picked up on it and wrote about it.
So good.
Just a neat little detail.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's get into chapter 592, Cheer. Mihawk has returned to his home on Gloom Island. We found Perona making herself at home. She is upset to learn that Moria was killed, but Mihawk reassures her that he was alive during the battle, so he may not be dead. Mihawk finds Zoro fighting the Humandrils in an attempt to get out to sea. Mihawk makes no attempt to stop him. Nami has been put in prison on Weatheria. She pleads to be let go to help her captain. Feeling guilty, they let her go, but she takes Herodis hostage to help make her escape. Frankie had set up shop on one of Vegapunk's abandoned laboratories. The Marines were able to locate him. In his attempt to escape, he accidentally sets off the self-destruct button for the building. Brooke managed to save the girl who was kidnapped from the Longarm tribe. The kidnappers were put in prison, but Brooke requests that the prisoners be set free as they have learned the errors of their way. They did not learn the errors of their way and kidnapped Brooke. Yeah, so this one is another check-in chapter for some of the other Straw Hats.
I love it. I just love
love
seeing the
it.
world expand and seeing all the different corners of it, and just the stretches of chapters like this are what I always get hyped for in One Piece.
Yeah. Yeah, so Evan, what do you think of who actually lives on Gloom Island?
Yeah, this was a shock to me for sure. Especially to see Zoro and Mihawk confront each other and not be at each other's throats immediately was a
Mhm.
shock. But I love how like each of these scenarios feels so catered to each of these characters. And it's like Zoro hasn't changed. Nami hasn't changed. Frankie hasn't changed. Brooke hasn't changed. You know, it's like all these characters are exactly who we remember them to be.
Mhm.
And I feel like Oda kind of does a great little job of like showcasing the trials that they're all going through to get back to Luffy here.
Yeah.
All in like their own signature way, which I love. My favorite panel of this entire chapter is the explosion page of Frankie with Frankie like silhouetted up there in like the mountain. Absolutely incredible. I cracked up when I saw that. So good.
Perfection.
Perfection.
One
Give it a
one
thumbs
of the
up.
funniest panels Oda's ever drawn, in my opinion.
Oh, so funny.
Can I ask you one thing? If for some reason I did happen to press that button, would it be my fault?
Oh my god.
Joel, I just want to hear Shane Top
Amazing.
saying that. I just want to hear
Yeah.
Shane Top reading that. Like that's all I want for the live action.
Uh,
Yeah,
amazing.
so good stuff. Yeah, so I think it's fun to see Mihawk is actually the one that lives on Gloom Island here. That's where Zoro happened to land. But he also has this whole conversation with Perona. Because we saw that after the war happened, Doflamingo was sent to essentially take care of Moria. So Mihawk didn't see that happen. But that appears to be like the story. Like they were saying that Moria was killed in the war. So it sounds like it was like a cover up to make it look like that's how he died, as opposed to being like, oh, he was just eliminated for not being good enough to be a warlord. So they made it like, oh no, how tragic. We lost a warlord. Now we have to find somebody better.
It's crazy, dude.
Mihawk's not buying it.
No, for a second.
He's like, yeah, something's fishy. He's like, well, that wasn't what happened in my opinion, but I don't know what happened after that. Yeah, and then we also have like this whole scene with Nami. Typical Nami. Kind of playing with them a little bit, where she cries, and then like when they like let her go, she takes her as like a hostage because like, she's like, I gotta do, I gotta trick people to kind of get what I want sometimes. So, but I like this moment where Herodis says that she has crocodile tears, and he makes a point that she's still crying even after she ran away. So those tears were legitimate. Like she used it to her advantage, but like they thought she was just making a fool out of them, which she was, but she was also sincere with those tears.
Yeah. A nice touch.
Yeah.
All the Strouds are such layered characters, but there are just so many facets to Nami's character, and I think it's just so impressive how Oda managed to put so many of them, if not all of them, into one 4-page scene.
Yeah.
He did
Mhm.
so great with that. And of course, we have Brooke
Mhm.
getting the long arm bandits behind bars and trying to just like a little faith in humanity. Trying to make a little bit of difference, saying, "Hey, if you take them prisoner, show them off, y'all are kind of the same. We don't want to be like that, do we? Right?" And tries to keep himself going as the champion of these people, of as their demon savior, saying, "Don't mess up. Right back with you." And of course, they tie him up, and in super Brook fashion, he is now screaming for Luffy's help, which
Yeah.
is so funny to me.
Yeah.
Perfection.
So it turns out he
Oh, yeah.
did help the lady that got kidnapped, because
Yeah.
in the cover story, it just seemed like he was just watching and didn't do anything to help. Now it's been like off screen, he did actually go and help. Yeah, so it's just kind of an odd choice to skip all of that and make it seem like Brooke had no intention to help before. But yeah, we just kind of fill in the gaps. That's fine. But yeah, it is funny here that Brooke is now the one who's captured, and then the followers that he had were just like, oh well, we'll just have another demon now that we know how it works and what they want. So
Yeah. We got this down.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think I really have too much more to add on this one. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
No, it's moving so fast. Like you can tell the story is really getting like pushed along here. Like they're
There's
definitely
a lot
like
of ground.
interesting. Yeah, a lot of ground's being covered in a few pages. But the main theme is that the Straw Hats are all desperate to get back to Luffy.
Exactly.
And I feel like they've all kind of had this spark that's lit their intentions to get back to Luffy now. So
Yeah.
I'm curious what that spark is.
All right. Well, how about we move on to the next chapter? Chapter 593, News. On Tequila Wolf, the Revolutionary Army explains to Robin that their leader, Dragon, sent them to protect her and bring her back with them. She declines and tells him she has to meet with her friends. Ivankov has returned to Kamabaka, where he meets Sanji. Unconvinced Sanji is who he claims he is, because his wanted poster doesn't have his photo, Ivankov refuses to help Sanji. Sanji declares a duel in order to get a ship and is swiftly defeated. Ivankov gets a transmission from Dragon, telling him that he wants to gather the executives to have a meeting. At Sabaody, Duval and the Rosy Life Riders defend the Thousand Sunny. Kuma arrives at the Sunny as well. When Duval prepares to fight back, Jackie says Kuma is the one who helped Rayleigh the other day and thinks he's on their side. Buggy has been reunited with his crew, along with his new recruits. A newspaper arrives for each of the Straw Hats, as well as Vivi, Crocodile, and Buggy. They are surprised to see Luffy made the news, but don't understand what he's doing.
It's good. Good, Oda. Don't tell me what's going on. Make me wait for it.
Let's stay in the dark.
Please. Please.
Man, another whirlwind chapter. So much
Mhm.
happens. But let's start with Robin. I still stand by Robin's like gotta be one of the most important characters in this entire series. And like this is another little moment that it's like we get to see the respect that she was given by Dragon here. Not just the respect, but like the recognition of like her potential importance in the revolution. Which seems like a perfect fit and it makes a lot of sense. So it's pretty cool to see Dragon call her the light of the revolution.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
After being called a demon for so long.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be
because
really important.
they realized that she survived the O'Hara incident, so there's something important about her.
Hmm.
They even call O'Hara the country that took on the world.
Yeah, so some respect there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it really does play into that narrative perfectly.
Yeah, so they've been searching for her for 10 years. So they specifically have been trying to seek her out. But she's been moving. She's been hard to keep up with because she's been moving from ship to ship for like all this time trying to survive.
Yeah, and I love how like we'll take you to our boss, we'll protect you, and she's like, "Oh, I'm good. I've got friends. I got
Yeah.
places to be,
Yeah.
but thank you."
Yeah, I love that character development there.
Mhm.
Yep.
It is also a nice window in the revolutionaries, as far as their values, because we do get this guy. Spoilers: his name is Bunny Joe. Um, talking to Robin in the carriage when they're discussing Tequila Wolf, this bridge that's being built. Um, and he says the Celestial Dragons ordered it. Doesn't matter why. Countless slaves perished in its construction. Nothing will change that. Doesn't matter if what the government is doing is something that is good from a utilitarian sense. Doesn't matter if they're enforcing peace. If it is on the backs of people who did not consent to being a part of it, if it's wasting lives, there's something genuinely wrong with that, and that is what the revolutionaries prioritize. And it's we do have the idea like very generally like, oh, they're freedom fighters, they're anti-tyranny, but it's just nice getting like these little details here and there as far as like where exactly they are.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also like a little detail here as well, where they've been building this bridge for so long that there are ruins along the
Mhm.
way because it's been like being built for that long.
Yeah, it's insane. They're saying the civilization's been like moving with the bridge,
Yeah.
which is insane.
And then it would move on to Kamabaka. They call it Kingdom here, but I don't know if they called it Queendom before.
I think they did, yeah.
Um, but I guess it's interchangeable. Uh, but yeah, I do think this exchange is pretty hilarious with Sanji and Ivankov. So Sanji's reactions to the different wanted posters.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, each one's just hilarious.
so good.
And then he like Ivankov can't get Sanji to like admit that it's him in the poster at first. Like, then this is you. No, I mean, well, yes, but no. It's like, well, how come you don't have a poster then? Just believe me that like I'm who I say I am. He's like, well, I'm not gonna, lead you to straw hat if I can't trust you.
Yeah. It's literally the one thing that Sanji has been able to milk so hard in this series so far is his anonymity. And the fact no one knows what he looks like and no one knows who he is. And that's gotten him so much information. And this is the one time where it and his pride are stopping him from getting exactly what he needs. It's so easy. All he has to say, yeah, it's me. It's a bad drawing of me, but he can't. He can't. And
Yeah,
it's so funny.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it's pretty
And
great.
and Eva just gets to troll him even harder.
yeah.
His biggest gag of, well, I guess I'm not telling you anything is just so perfect here. I love this combination of characters. I love their vibe, their chemistry so much.
Yeah, really funny.
So good.
Yeah, and then Sanji just gets like one shot when he challenges Eva to a duel.
Yeah.
It's like a little tiny like sliver of a panel. It's like barely even like dedicated time for it because it's so like one sided.
Yep.
But yeah, Dragon's also trying to get some movement going with the Revolutionary Army though. Something's happening.
Mm.
Yeah, very cool. Seeing kind of behind the curtains of the revolutionaries and Dragon in action. We also get some fun little transponder snail lore with a rare white transponder snail that
Mm,
emits a sonic wave that prevents wiretapping,
very handy to have.
which is a very glum looking little snail attached to transponder snail. Or I guess that's Eva's transponder snail. Maybe it is Dragon's. I don't know.
It's one that Dragon has to talk to Eva.
Oh, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
but like it looks like Eva because Eva's the one who's like talking through it.
It looks like
But
Eva, but it's got Dragon's markings on the back of it.
yep.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it does have his like tattoo on his face along the back too.
So it's their little homie transponder snail.
Very cool.
For their yeah.
Love it.
And then yeah, we get another great scene with Duval. Like this will never not make me laugh when like he mistakes them for calling him handsome.
Yeah.
What? Handsome? Nobody said that.
I'm not giving you anything.
Yeah, so it's good to know that the Sunny is also being protected. The Rosary Fighters are dedicated to it.
Then we have Kami, Hachi, and Papug all excited for the Strats to come right back. Saying, "Oh, hang out on Fishman Island." Saying, "Oh, we're gonna
Mhm.
go to the cafe. No, we're gonna go to the dojo. No, we're gonna go meet the Marine Princess. No, we're gonna do this. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this." And Shocky says, "Hey, you ever think that you might have to wait a second?
Yeah,
Because
because it's gonna take some time for them to get back.
yep, if Rayleigh's with him. They might something might be a little delay here."
Well, I think it's just gonna take some time for each of the members from like all these different places to eventually travel back.
Yeah, like it's not gonna
We
be
don't know
like,
like
"Oh, we're going in like 2 hours. We have to get the
Yeah.
entire itinerary going right now." It's like they have to sail. They were literally all over the world. Like it's gonna take a second, dude.
But it's like, yeah, like we don't know how far away each of them is from Sabaody. So
True.
realistically, how long is it gonna take for each person to get back to
Yeah.
Sabaody?
Yep.
And then Kuma shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Kuma's like, I feel like you guys had talked about me enough for this chapter. Like you guys have been giving me a lot of attention lately, but I need more attention. So he's like, oh, let me show up for this chapter.
Not good.
I heard you were talking shit.
Beep beep boop beep.
But Shaku seems to think that Kuma is here for a good reason. The last time like people saw Kuma here, it was like pretty crazy, where it was like all the pirates were being attacked by the pacifists and stuff, and now Kuma shows up, and Shaku's like, "But you're on our side, right?" We know that Kuma is no longer Kuma, so
Right.
she might have had an impression of Kuma before based on his actions, what happened with Rayleigh, but that might not be the same person now.
Not good.
Even one chapter after getting a huge realization about Kuma's motivations, we still, or 2 chapters, I should say, there's still so much we just don't know about his motivations.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Super good. Yeah, it is suspenseful and confusing. Speaking of suspenseful, like the suspense on whatever Luffy has publicly announced is killing me.
Like, bro, what?
Yeah. Like flying through these chapters, like, what is it? What did he say? What did he do?
That seems to be the question on everybody's mind, because we also have not only the Straw Hats, but we get Vivi, who's trying to figure out what statement Luffy's trying to make. Crocodile, who's also like, what's this guy thinking? But Crocodile seems ready to move on to the new world, so he's kind of reinvigorated here. He's like, I have a second chance. I'm out of prison, and I can continue my goal. Because last we did see he did still want to be the Pirate King, based on the Miss Golden Week cover story. So it seems like he's ready to pick that back up with Das Bones. And then, of course, we get Buggy's crew.
Yes.
Oh god. Our Lord and Savior, Buggy D Clown. Wind blows not to the east or west. It blows for me.
Oh my god. This plot line has been so good.
I literally can't trust any of them.
What was that?
The way Buggy is full of shit, Richie, Moji, and Kabaji are full of shit. It's like this entire crew, like both sides are just like inflating themselves for the other, which is lovely.
Yeah, it's amazing. Alfie's like, didn't you like give up on him right away after this heartfelt reunion?
Yeah, she's kind of caught in the middle of it. She goes like, aren't these all like really famous pirates? What are they doing here? Why are they with you?
Hey, who's this?
Alvida.
Oh.
You have Captain John's treasure mark? What is going on here?
And then a call from the
Yeah.
government.
Whoa.
Yeah, what? Okay, Evan, what do you think this could be?
Um, my first thought, which is kind of crazy, was like possibly a warlord offer.
Interesting.
Like, why else? I don't know. I couldn't think of any other reasons why the government would be calling a pirate.
That would be silly.
Yeah, but Mr. 3 reads the letter first. He's like, "Oh, this news is pretty shocking." So he reads it before Buggy, which I thought was just funny. I also thought it was funny when the OG Buggy crew. They're so relieved to see Buggy again. Emoji's like, "Ever since you got captured, I've been so worried. I stay up every night trying to figure out how to rescue you." And then Kabuki's like, "Oh, we sail over the world, tasting bitter defeat at every turn." So like, yeah, they're like, "Oh yeah, like we've been trying so hard to get you back," and it's like reality. Albie's like, "Yeah, you guys like gave up on him, like right away," because like we did see um like as soon as like Buggy was captured and put down, I think they like ran around for a little bit, and then they're like, "Okay, yeah, he's gone," and then they like they just kept going.
Yeah.
We tried.
Yeah, so nice check-ins for these characters. You guys have any other thoughts before we wrap up with the last chapter of the volume?
I'm good.
All set.
Okay, chapter 594, Message. The five elders discuss the news that was reported with Luffy, wondering what his connection to Rayleigh is, as well as determining Jinbei has sided against them. They discuss the matter of filling the vacant warlord seats. With the power vacuum created by Newgate's death and Teach seemingly gunning to replace him, they state they must pick worthy candidates to maintain the balance of power. Sengoku meets with Commander-in-Chief Kong to attempt to resign. The resignation is not officially accepted, as he is encouraged to retire, but continue training the next generation as Garp has decided to do. Sengoku recommends Aokiji to be his replacement as Fleet Admiral. Smoker requests to be transferred to G5 in order to continue his mission into the New World. Kobe has awakened in the infirmary, where the medical examiner confirms for him the voices he is hearing in his head are a form of Haki. Navy headquarters assembled to discuss the actions of Monkey D. Luffy that made the news. He returned to Marineford with Jinbei and Rayleigh. They took control of a Navy ship and circled the island once, which is the water burial ceremony. He rang the ox bell 16 times, though the custom is 2 times. This is seen as an act against authority. Then Luffy took a moment of silence, which was photographed and put in the newspaper. Meanwhile, the other supernovas have continued on their journey into the New World. On the ship returning to Amazon Lily, Luffy tells Rayleigh that he hopes his crew got the message. Rayleigh assures Luffy and tells him that he's confident they'll figure it out. The Strats also the newspaper and got his message. As to what the message is, that remains to be seen.
Dun dun dun.
The world building.
All right, so let's start with the beginning of the chapter.
Yes.
Since we were just kind of talking about Evan's theory about what that letter was for Buggy, but now there's a conversation with the five elders talking about just that topic.
Yeah. Also talking about Luffy, which is pretty wild that we
Mhm.
have, the 5 heads of world government all discussing Luffy and the issues that he's brought up, and their now 3 vacant spots on the warlord,
The roster.
whatever, the
I
roster.
mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crocodile was replaced by Teach. Teach is gone. Moria's gone, and Jinbei jumped ship. So it's a lot of personnel they got to replace.
Yeah, it was interesting hearing them talk about the significance of Jebe's like kind of role in this, like representing the fish
Mm.
people, and like having that kind of been like a sign of alliance between the world government and the fish people.
Hmm.
So
Which
yeah,
they're just looking at it as like a social like political issue, as like it's almost
right.
like it makes us look better if we have like a fish man that we can have like these relations with. Um, so
Right.
yeah, it seems like more like they were concerned about having like that symbol as opposed to more like Jinbei as like a person. So I think they're just kind of like, oh yeah, that's just like something that makes our position a little bit tougher now. So that's the way that they're seeing
Yeah.
it.
they only care about appearances, but they do bring
Yeah.
up like a good point on like Jinbei's importance in the conversation when we're talking about like figureheads at this level.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also talking about Teach and, you know, his progression.
Yep.
So that they seem to think that he has lofty goals here. He did declare that he said that this is his era. So Blackbeard is making big statements and big moves.
Yep.
They also point out that he knows Whitebeard's territory as well as because
Mm.
he used to be on his crew. So he
Right.
like, kind of gives him a leg up.
And apparently he has taken out a rookie worth over 100 million.
Yep.
Yeah, and then also we have to mention the largest problem here, as always, is D. With what happened with Portkis, that name has become much too well known in recent years. So there's something about the name D that the world government doesn't want people to become familiar with or too widespread.
They're very aware.
Uh-huh.
We move on to the scene with Kong and Sengoku. So Sengoku is kind of like, man, I've seen enough. I want to get out of the game. And Kong's like, maybe not fully. We still could use your talents to help get the new generation into shape, which is what Garp seems to have done. So Garp's also kind of slipping down from his role. So I do think that like the events that happened did kind of shake him a little bit too. So he's kind of like, I don't want to keep doing what I've been doing. I want to, you know, kind of step down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting because like kind of like we were saying before, like the end of an era, like they're also a part of the end of that era in this case. Like it's also the end of their generation's time in power.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like you know, they killed Whitebeard, but there was and Ace, but there were a lot of I think failures, especially publicly in that moment. So they're kind of owning up to not having handled that as smoothly as that could have been handled. And Aokiji has been the recommended successor.
Very interesting concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, coming from the current fleet admiral, that's a pretty high recommendation.
It's a pretty high recommendation.
Yeah, and there's just a lot that happens in this chapter. Like every page is like a different scene. So, yeah, and then
The new era,
Aokiji.
the new era will be called Lazy Justice.
Yeah, so Aokiji is having a meeting with Smoker because Smoker wants to request a transfer to Branch 5, which, you know, that would give him access to the New World because Smoker kind of like went rogue to begin with when he left Logtown. He left his position to pursue Luffy, but then ended up working in his favor because he got promoted from there. But now he wants to have access to the New World, so he requests if it should be transferred, go through the proper channels, and go to the New World, so he can, you know, stay on top of Luffy and follow him there.
Man is determined.
Mm-hmm.
I love how this is all happening in Aokiji's office, which like one wall is just missing, and it's just like scaffolding and just open air, like a full half of the office. It's just missing. It's hilarious.
There are people actively in the background working on construction to rebuild the building that got destroyed in the war.
Just walking through the room, being like hearing the entire conversation.
Hilarious.
How about the scene with Kobe?
Hockey power confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey power confirmed. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we've been, you know, putting together from the clues that we've had. Now we have the confirmation. Kobe didn't realize what was happening, but he seems to have been able to pick up on this kind of like subconsciously. So it's something that I think a lot of people have to like, train for. But Kobe seems to just have like a natural affinity for it, so he kind of just picked up on it.
Very interesting.
Up was a little jealous.
Yeah.
But Kobe just seems kind of like concerned because like he's kind of like overwhelmed by like the presence of the people around him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this has exciting implications. Like as we're seeing Luffy moving up in the pirate world, we're also seeing Kobe moving up within the Navy, and
Yeah.
um, especially with Garp now stepping down and Sengoku stepping down, it's kind of like we said, bringing in a new era with new faces and kind of shifting of power. Um, Not saying Kobe's gonna like take over, but it's just like cool seeing he's also progressing within his own circle and
Yeah.
progressing up through the Navy, and is an incredibly likable character. And I think that this hockey power works really well with just like him as a character, which is really cool
Mm,
to see.
for sure.
So excited about that.
But yeah, then we see that Luffy did something that got the attention of the world, including some of the supernovas. We see, Kid, um, reacting to Luffy, Capone. Yeah, we see Hawkins and the Rouge. One thing I also wanted to point out here is Hawkins seems to be confronting Brownbeard, which is the character that we had seen. I think it was last volume,
Hmm.
where he's one of the pirates that was trying to take over Whitebeard's previous territory.
Right.
So now Hawkins is already having a clash with that guy.
The text box
Yep.
does say the new world is turbulent, and
Mm.
definitely exemplifying that here.
For sure.
But moving back to the events that unfolded with Luffy. So yeah, he went back to Marineford and performed these like actions that were they're done as like a form of tradition for like certain ceremonies. So he went in and kind of like made this like declaration by going around doing the ceremony for water burial. Um, they seem to see this as like him saying that the previous era has ended and now this is like a new era. And then he rings the bell 16 times, which is more than normal. Normally it's just 2 rings. So the Navy is seeing this as like an act of defiance. And then they captured his picture where he's having a moment of silence. So that was the picture that was captured, and that was what was put in the newspaper. But he showed up with Rayleigh and Jinbei. So now the world's kind of being like, what's their connection? Like, what's going on? Why did Luffy do this? So everybody's confused as to what's happening. But it seems that the Straw Hats saw the message and they had a different reaction than what a lot of the other people um, were thinking when they saw it.
Theory time. Theory time.
I know what
Okay, so I
everyone-
couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't really say this before without spoiling
Okay.
like this part, but like I didn't really have an idea of um what Rayleigh was suggesting before. But
Okay.
I think from this chapter, my theory is that the idea of like ringing the bells and doing this ceremonial lap was Rayleigh's idea because those are obviously things that Luffy wouldn't come up with on his own. Um, and it also give him a public eye and give him an ability to reach out to the Straw Hats wherever they are through this like posting or this newspaper article. Um, and so like this entire all the chapters we've gone over in this episode have been building up to this reveal of like what was the message that Luffy had sent. And there's a few things we can pick up in this image.
Okay.
Is that a tattoo on his arm?
Yeah, he looks like he has some kind of markings on his arm.
Looks like he has some sort of tattoo on his arm, which I believe is new.
Yeah, that wasn't there before.
That wasn't there before. So I
That's
can't
so
quite
weird.
make out what that is.
Yeah, it's
But
kind of hard to read. I don't know if it's like in Japanese or something, or yeah.
so, and this is a theory. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but my guess is that there is some information that's being withheld in this shot that is covered up by a hand here. And I think that in Luffy's hand, he's holding like a Viver card to like
Okay.
Ooh.
send the message to the crew of like, meet me at the Viver card because we all have the same card.
Hmm.
That's my theory.
Okay.
Evan, you know what you
because
what
I
you
was
do realize?
analyzing this photo and being like, what's the image? Like, am I overthinking it? Like, it might be way more obvious than the theory I just came up with, and maybe I was overthinking it because there was so much like build up to this moment. And also Oda's making it seem like super obvious. Like all of the Straw Hats picked up on it immediately. So maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe it's more obvious than that.
Evan, did you see what the hand is hiding? Somewhat.
Luffy's left hand.
Panda Man.
Oh, yo!
I
Nope.
just noticed that. I just noticed that.
I didn't
Oh
notice that
my
either.
Holy
god!
shit, I didn't see that
Good
before.
catch. Oh, it's amazing.
That's
Yeah,
the
that
message.
might be-
Follow Panda Man.
This is our new crewmate, Panda Man.
Oh
He will
my
bring us the new
God.
world. Our problems are solved. That's the message.
How exciting! That might be my first Panda Man sighting. That's incredible.
Good job. Good job.
But I do want to point out that almost all the strats picked up immediately on the message. Zoro, like he thinks that there's something weird, but he doesn't know what's weird about it.
Who was it who said,
There's
Hold on.
something there.
Something's there.
There's one man who doesn't seem very sharp, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Wait. There's something. He wouldn't do this. Rayleigh did this. Something's going on here. Something.
I hope that's not how my theorizing sounded.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so that's where we leave it.
Wow, so much happens in these 5 chapters. I feel like an incredible amount of information was given. We had like multiple plot lines through multiple chapters. Like it was wild. It felt like every 4 pages we were moving on to another plot, like another another location, another
Sometimes less.
set of character.
Yeah.
It was like rapid fire.
Every page turn sometimes.
Yeah, like
But I
so many
think-
different characters that we like went back to, like and checked in
Yeah.
on. Crazy.
Really, Oda has just like set the table. He's like, okay, let's eat.
Yeah.
Let's just have a feast right now. Let's just like enjoy this crazy world we've built up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like some of the like the through plots of just kind of like Luffy finally realizing and thinking about his crew, and then seeing not only the Straw Hats thinking about Luffy, but like the world. Like literally everyone has Luffy on their mind. Like it's kind of wild to see the implications of like what has happened and what has transpired, and like again, like you said, like it's a very turbulent climate, turbulent world we're in right now. But Luffy is like top of mind for a majority of the people, like a majority of like these important figures that we've come to know and respect or hate, you know.
Yeah.
But
Our guys in
Yep.
the big.
somebody's bounty's going up.
How about you, Cody? Thoughts?
I think that's exactly it. It's Luffy's on everyone's mind right now. He has gone through one of the most insane events in recent history of this world, and he's charting his course through the rest of it, and shit is gonna get even more insane somehow.
Yeah, so this has been a nice like checkup volume. At least like this part of the volume. Like you said, I think this is really table setting. So it feels like Oda's moving the pieces around and setting the stage for what's to come. So we don't get a lot of the answers, but like Oda is setting up a lot here. So like the fact that he went to all these different places and he's setting up this plot, he's not giving too many answers. He's letting the reader know something's happening, but as to exactly what's happening, it's not clear to the reader. So it's very exciting to see what's unfolding, but we will hopefully get more information in the next volume. But for now, we're just going to kind of be in the space of what's happening.
Did Luffy get a tattoo? It looks very like symbolic of maybe Ace's tattoo. Like it almost looks like a word that also has a cross, like something crossed out through it. kind
Could
of.
be.
It's hard to tell. At first, I thought maybe it said sunny, but I don't know. I can't tell.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's something that's decipherable from this picture.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time staring at it, trying to make it out, and only have some guesses. It's
Agenda.
not clear.
Yes, Evan's a theory man now. Let's go.
How could you not? I mean, like, how could
Right?
you not?
And I love this direction. I'm so excited for this. I love seeing you get wrapped up in it. It's amazing.
All right, so we are actually going to wrap up the episode here. So that will conclude this week's episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. You can find this episode wherever podcasts are found at We Are Reading One Piece podcast.buzzsprout.com or on the YouTube channel at We Are Reading One Piece. This is a spoiler-free channel up to where we have recorded the podcast. If you're new to the series, you can visit the channel there. You can also find me and this podcast on my YouTube channel at Parking Codex for more One Piece content. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can reach us at wearereadingonepiece@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from listeners, so if you're enjoying the show, or if you have any suggestions on how we can make it better, let us know. Next episode, we'll be starting Volume 61, Romance Dawn for the New World. I've been Joel, and I've been joined by Evan.
Thanks for listening.
And Cody.
I still have my podcast.
All right. Well, be sure to bring along all your hopes and dreams, and we'll see you on the next episode.